Hello, BookTube. It's Friday, and that's time for Friday Reads before I ascend into heaven. So we've got the Steve Halo going on again. But this is the time when everybody looks ahead to their weekends, tells you about what they're reading and what they plan on reading immediately. I wanted to show you 6 books. And ordinarily I break these 6 books down. I've noticed when I look back at these videos, usually it's half and half. It's 3 that I have read and want to just tell you a little about, and 3 that I haven't read. It's a little blurrier this time around. Most of these things I have read in one form or another, and you'll see what I mean. But I want to start off with 3 new things that I have read and that I want to recommend, unfortunately, for your TBRs, your poor suffering TBRs. The first one is a kid's book. It's a kid's picture book. Some of you will know if you've watched this channel, I dearly love them. And I love both kinds of them. I like the kinds that are made for kids, and I like the kinds that are kind of made for adults. And this is one that I don't know what a kid would do with at all. Their heart might go out to it. It might strike their emotions. But I don't think it's the kind of kids picture book that kids particularly like. Whereas an adult, especially a dog owner, is going to go nuts over this thing. And this is by someone named Guo Jing. I have no idea who that is. There's no author bio. There's no details of any kind. It's a kids book called Stormy, a story about finding a forever home. And it has no words at all. Just gorgeous art. Just page after page of gorgeous art. And it is about a scraggly lost dog in a park who doesn't have anyone and who is at the mercy of the elements and scrounging for food. And one day, a little girl comes to the park. And she knows that the dog is there, and the dog is not trustworthy, is not trusting, of course, because anything could be a danger. And the book is about them coming together. It's about the dog finding a home with her. And if you've ever had a dog, you're going to find it incredibly touching. It brought me to tears. But I don't know what a kid would do with it. It's chock full from top to bottom with life lessons and life observations, even though there are no words. It's full of life observations that kids don't have and that are next to impossible to explain to them. So I strongly recommend Stormy. I don't have a pub sheet for this thing, so I don't know when it's out. It might be out already, but when you go to your bookstore, if you're an adult and you want a kid's book that you're going to keep for yourself, I strongly recommend this one, especially if you're a dog owner. And this next one is something, I read it in one gulp. I have read the 2 books before it. This series is amazing. Amazingly good. Technically, it's YA, but once again, if you're an adult, you're going to love it. You're just going to love it. This is the Earth Before Us series. It's put out by Amulet Books, and it's by Abby Howard, who both writes and draws it, I believe. And it's a series in which a young girl is accosted, is accompanied by her hyper-nerdy teacher, Miss Larnon, on voyages into the past, into Earth's past. The first book was Dinosaur Empire, and the second book was Ocean Renegades. The first one was all about dinosaurs. The second was all about ocean life from the beginning. And they're beautifully drawn. And this latest one is Mammal Takeover, a tour of the Cenozoic era. This is when mammals ruled the world, when they took over for the spaces left behind by dinosaurs and proliferated everywhere in the world, into every niche and size and shape. And the teacher and her student, look at all this, look at all those. This is awesome. The teacher and her student go through the world and explain what animal life is and what mammal life is and all the staggering variety of it. And it's all done with slightly tongue-in-cheek, and it's just delightful. Absolutely delightful. I have gone back to Ocean Renegades and especially Dinosaur Empire many, many times. I think I wrote about Dinosaur Empire and gave a slightly sarcastic note of concern because the Dinosaur Empire has a feathered T-Rex, and I don't care how accurate that is. That does not appeal to the 8-year-old in me, who's never far from the surface. But this series, I mean, you can give this to a kid, especially a science-minded kid. They're going to love it. They're absolutely going to love it. And they're going to learn a lot from it. But you can also absorb it yourself if you're an adult. Just unabashedly do so. I do. And then the third thing, I don't know whether or not to characterize this as something that I have already read. I have been reading this thing since I got it. I am absorbed with it. I am obsessed with it. I take it everywhere. It's going to afford me endless hours of deep thought and just delightful reading. We've seen it on this channel before, and I do recommend it to you. I just don't. It's not going to be for everybody, of course. This is the Baylor Annotated Study Bible. You might have seen me get this in the mail. I got it in a box. It's a big, thick thing. It's like thousands of pages long. It's 1,900 pages long, and it is the Bible, but it's with enormous annotations and tons of digressions and discursions on all sorts of matters, tons of maps, tons of... It's a study Bible, but it's not a dumb study Bible. I have seen my share, I have taught from my share of dumb study Bibles. This isn't one of them. This is much more on the other end of the spectrum. This is much more towards the scholarly end of the spectrum. I have been delighting in it since I got it, so I strongly recommend it. I just don't know. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody. I don't even know a price on this thing. Yeah, I don't have a pub sheet and I don't have a price. It's probably $35 or $40, but I love it. I have been honored to receive study Bibles in the mail before. This is the best of the bunch so far. Baylor University Press is really good, but even by their own standards, I have been loving it, absolutely loving it. And then the next book is something that I've read. I'm going to reread it because I read the advanced copy and then I read the finished copy and then I wrote a review, and now enough time has passed so that I've got what is a really neat, handy-sized trade paperback. The paperback will be out. When will this be out? Is it going to tell me? Later this month. A little bit later this month. This is Jane Livy's book, The Big Fella, about her biography of Babe Ruth, in a really nice size trade paperback. I loved it. I thought at first that it was an impossible act to follow. Lee Montville wrote a book called The Big Bam, also a Babe Ruth biography, and I thought there's no way that a book could beat that, and this did. This filled in more details, took me to more places, more aspects of Ruth's life than I had even thought to ask about in previous biographies. And that life is also a terrific story. It's got highs of just unbelievable mythic grandeur and also lows. Ruth's life largely disappointed him, except for his moments of glory. And the glory was stuff that we only dream about. So it's a great balance. It's novelistic, I would say, if novels were still any good. So I'm going to reread this. So it counts as one that I have read and I'm going to reread. And that's even true of these last two. Because a lot of the things in these two volumes I will have already read. I will reread them. But a lot of it will be new to me as well. And this is the Best American series. It's that time of year again, where we're going to start to get Best American series volumes. Started out with Best American short stories, but then the series took off. And they have splintered it into a whole bunch of different genres, where the editors comb through periodical literature, not just the big magazines that you might have seen yourself, but also lots of other stuff as well. And a lot of stuff gets nominated to present a volume of the best short examples of that genre from that year. And this is the Best American Science and Nature Writing of 2019. This is, the guest editor is Cy Montgomery, and the series editor is, who is the series editor? Jamie Green. And all of these things now have sort of marquee name guest editors. And the way to tell whether or not the guest editor is a douche canoe is if their own work is contained in their volume. And I'm happy to report that is not the case here. So this is just, I mean, you'll have excerpts, of course, for science and nature writing. You'll have Nature Magazine, Natural History. You'll have essays in the New Yorker and the Atlantic and whatnot. But you'll also have things from far afield, things that I'm sure I didn't see. So this is sort of half and half of stuff that of being in the category of stuff that I've already read and stuff that's new to me. And the same thing is true for this next one, Best American Travel Writing. In 2016, I wonder why, I largely cut back on my political magazine subscriptions. And that resulted in not enough magazines coming here to demand my attention, so I subscribed to a whole bunch of travel writing. A whole bunch of travel magazines, Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast, all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the essays in here are from that travel writing. But they'll also be from places that there'll be some, like the Paris Review, they'll be from places that I don't look at all. And this is, the series editor is Jason Wilson, and the guest editor this time around is Alexander Fuller, who wrote Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, among other things. So those are, that's where I want to round out with those. I will be reading all of the Best Americans as they come along. I just recently finished 2019's Best American Mystery Stories. Terrific volume. These are usually terrific volumes. They really are. And the big one, still the marquee one, is the Best American Short Stories, and I haven't got that yet. So I don't know why not. I think it's that review copies are out already. But one way or another, that is my Friday reads. Bit of a variety, huge amount of neighborhood noise. Sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it. These are the last days when Frida and I are going to be able to have the window open, so I'm leaving the window open. So we have Stormy, a kid's picture book that isn't really for kids. We have a Baylor Annotated Study Guide, which is certainly not for Bible students alone. If you're interested, it's terrific. And then we have Mammal Takeover, the latest in the Earth Before Us series. Technically for YA, but you're going to love it. I don't care how old you are, you're going to love it. Then the trade paperback, a really nifty trade paperback of The Big Fella, Jane Levy's biography of Babe Ruth, that I highly, highly recommend. Do believe that it made my best biographies of the year. And then 2 of the Best American volumes. This time we have travel writing and Science and Nature. But there'll be volumes like this for virtually everything: science fiction, fantasy, sports writing, political writing. The trendy one that is sometimes assigned in schools is the Best American volume of non-required reading, which will still sometimes have interesting choices in it. I love the series, so I will be reading them all, and these 2 are the next up on the docket. So that's it. That is Friday Reads. I sorry for the background noise. I, of course, want to know what you're reading this Friday and this weekend, so let me know. Also, let me know if you're still baking in heat. Boston's summer has sort of rolled up and left town. I know it'll be back, but for right now, it's almost sweater weather here as September begins. So let me know if that's true with you. I know large parts of America, anyway, are still baking in record-breaking heat. So anyway, tell me all about your reading, and I will wrap this up for now, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.